Hey there, folks. Welcome back. I don't know why my feed shut off there. Hopefully, they didn't just straight pull us off of YouTube. We'll go ahead and check. But anyway, I was basically in the middle of talking about mansplaining and toxic masculinity, and just saying that um, when men are explaining things to you, we're not doing it in a way to tell you that you're stupid or that you don't understand. It's that men have to understand so much of the world to get ahead, just to have a basic foothold in life. We have to have so much more knowledge than those surrounding us to be valuable, to be wanted. And with that comes knowledge. With knowledge comes expertise. With expertise means to share that knowledge and expertise, you have to break it down to a first grade level so that even the most basic human can understand and keep up and follow through with what you're saying and doing. If you feminists want to yell and screech about mansplaining and toxic masculinity, where are you to admit your fault of toxic femininity? It's disgusting to see a woman that wants to act like a man. Yeah, I'll say it. It's disgusting to see a woman who slept with, I don't know, let's just throw a number out there, 10, 15, 20 people and anything plus. It's disgusting. It's not attractive. You're not empowered. You're not stronger because of it. You're less valuable. You're uglier because of that. Oh, and you've cheated because like many women are, you're not monogamous, you're hypergamous. Well, that also takes down your value. Why would I want to be with someone who's going to leave in 5-10 years after we've made a life together? Or, like any aspect of modern feminism is absolutely abhorrent and disgusting. I don't think it's attractive to like free the nipple, free the titty. That's great that you feel liberated. If you're an adult and you're in a parade, I don't really care. At the same time, I ain't gonna date you. Why do I want someone who's displayed the most valuable parts of themselves? Not valuable monetarily. I mean, what is the most intimate thing you can give someone? It's your private parts, the parts of you that are meant to procreate. That's the most intimate thing you can give to someone. And for you to just flaunt it out there in the streets shows me you have no respect for yourself, you have no dignity, you have no moral boundaries, and you only do whatever feels right to you rather than doing what is right by society. If we're going to talk about mansplaining and toxic masculinity, then we need to call out toxic femininity. It's annoying and really quite old of women trying to talk over men and shout over men and scream that we're being the misogynist because we won't let you talk. Women will act a fool and then start calling us racist and rapists and saying that we abuse our kids. Where the fuck did that come from? Just because you're emotionally upset at whatever the fuck is going on, you're going to jump from I'm mad to you raped me or you beat my children? Now, granted, ladies, of course that's not all of you. It's not nearly the majority of you even. But modern women, those are their values. Modern women think that abortion is a condom. Think about that. Modern women have killed, I think it's something like 450,000 babies annually, and the death rate is something like 463,000 people a year. I might get the numbers mixed up, but if I remember right, we abort more babies than people that die naturally in a year. That's abhorrent. And that somehow is women's empowerment, giving women the right to kill. Okay, so then why don't men have the right to kill? If you have the right to have an abortion, why can't I say screw you on child support? If you don't want the baby and you can kill it, how come if I don't want the baby, I can let it live, just not pay for it? Do you not see the back asswardsness of that? Do you not see how fucking diseased you women have become in this regard? How corrupt um, contraception has made you? It's sick. And to tell me that that's women's empowerment, no, it's disgusting. And I want nothing to do with a woman like that. As I get older, you know what I want? Yeah, sounds misogynistic, but it's true. I want a younger woman who is open to the idea that she is a follower and not a leader, who understands that sexual promiscuity is abhorrent, who understands that as a woman, she should have woman friends, and that's it. You don't need guy friends. You don't need guy brothers. Same for guys. You don't need your lady friends. You don't need your little sister who's been in your life forever. If you make a commitment to someone to be in a relationship with that someone, then they should give you everything you need. You should not need a person of the opposite sex to fulfill you in any other way if you have truly found the right person for you. Come at me for that. And all of this has led to a fail in dating and relationships and marriages. I mean, there's statistic after statistic nowadays, like something like 60% of OnlyFans models are now starting to realize, oh, they can't, not only can they not get into a relationship, they can't keep a relationship. Because guess what? Guys don't want you when your butthole's been all over the internet. I don't want a girl that 50,000 guys have seen and jacked off to and left cum on a poster of. As a man, I want my woman to be a lady in the streets, but a freak in the bed. I think is how Little John said it. I want my woman to be conservative in public. And sure, if you're with me, we're at home, promiscuous as you want. Dress naked for all I care. I guess it'd be undressed naked for all I care. I think you get what I'm saying. %70 of divorces nowadays are initiated by women. There's some statistic about how some weird statistic of like how there's more women in relationships than relationships that are counted. Essentially what the statistic was showing is that, well, basically women are cheating now. Women have come to realize that through their sexual promiscuity and falling to the other tenets of feminism, that they are unwanted by men. And that if they do want a man, they're going to have to share this high value man. So the data seemed to suggest that women have come to a point where multiple women are dating one man, and they're all okay with it. Now, this bodes terribly for all of the rest of society. One, because only a few people are getting laid at the very, very top, which is natural. But when that becomes a whole society thing, that only a few people are getting laid at the top, and almost every woman's getting ran through, again, back to the sexual purity talk. If all these women want one guy and they're all willing to be with him, and then later in their 30s, they're like, no, I want a man to be committed to me. That man doesn't want you anymore. You have no dating worth anymore. And because of that, relationships fail. Animosity grows between the sexes because we can't communicate with each other. Because if a man tries to say his preferences or what he likes or doesn't like in a relationship, he's a misogynist and he's mansplaining and he's holding her down. And if a woman tries to I don't know, be manly, I guess. It's just unattractive. You can go ahead, be your strong, independent, fearless black woman for all I care. You're going to be alone the rest of your life because people ain't going to put up with your shit. People ain't going to deal with living with a fucking child for their entire life. You don't get to say that men are so toxic that there's no redemptive quality about them, and yet we're going to go after the very men who display the qualities we despise. Yet when we have a good man, we're going to cheat on him for the guy with the high status, the money, the wealth, the nice house, the yacht. Hypergamy it's been one of the biggest killers of marriages. And it's your fault, ladies. You control access to sex. Obviously, men can take advantage of that to some degree. We'll avoid that, but you are the barrier to sex. If you want men to behave better sexually, guess what? You need to behave better sexually. If you want men to have higher standards in how they treat and look at women, you need to have higher standards. You don't want men looking at you like a piece of ass when all you're doing is showing your ass and your tits. Quit showing your ass and your tits. You want people to quit just treating you like a porn star? Quit. Then why did you quit being a teacher to be an OnlyFans model? All you are is a stripper now. The fallacy, the flaws in these people's logic is just so confounding to me that it makes no sense that you can be this stupid. And like, it's not just this topic. How many topics have we been through? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Like 32 topics. And every single time we're breaking it down like this. How is every facet of our lives so fucked up and corroded and diseased? Oh, that's right. Because people are annoyed by politics. Because there's just too much in politics to pay attention to. Because politics is boring. Do you not realize yet how much of your life has been impacted, affected, destroyed, and abused by just some of these topics we've talked about? We're halfway through. Jesus, we could talk for another 3 hours at least. Except the next section of topics, they kind of trend in a different direction. So for now, let's go ahead and start wrapping this video up. I would remind everyone that in this video, as well as the video that got cut off a little while ago, we talked about COOF. You know, that sickness that happened for like 3 years. We talked about that. We talked about the pandemic response and the shut-ins and the lockouts, not just here, but in China. We talked about algorithm influences, how social media has fostered nothing but hate. We talked about intersectionalism and how you have more clout if you are a Black, disabled, Native American, gay, lesbian, pedophile than if you're a cisgender, white, male or female. We talked about the culture war, what that means. We talked a little bit about woke politics and how that has led to race riots at schools, how schools are openly talking about segregating again. Didn't we agree segregation was bad? Didn't, like 40, 50, 60 years ago, didn't we say that segregation might be kind of racist? And that to be inclusive, Blacks and whites should go to school together? Well, the modern left wants to destroy all that, and they want to be racist again. And they want to segregate schools. Hence why they have race riots at schools. Talked about Antifa and BLM, how they are the modern day brown shirts and Gestapo of the Democratic Party. These are the political thugs, the militant arm of the Democratic establishment. When the Democrats want something done in the streets, they send these people out. They fundraise for them. They crowdfund for them. They bail them out of jail. So yes, Democrats and politicians support BLM and Antifa. They encourage breaking the law. They support law breaking, and they pay for it. Why Kamala Harris and Joe Biden aren't held in jail for this, I don't know. Same probably why Hillary Clinton's not in jail, even though we know that she poured bleach on and smashed her servers and her cell phones with hammers, her and others. We know this. Everybody knows it, just like everybody knows OJ killed his family in the fucking driveway, and yet these people still aren't in jail. We talked about how diversity, inclusion, and equity need to go DIE, as in their acronym, DIE, diversity, inclusion, and equality. I stand for equality, sorry. They stand for equity. We talked about the 2020 riots and what all happened during those. Don't forget, during the 2020 riots, nearly 60 people were murdered in relation. 30 were directly related to the riots, but nearly 60 people died directly related to ongoings inside or directly there outside of these autonomous zones. There was election law changes before the election of 2020. We talked about the Times Magazine article that bragged about this, where they bragged about all of the illegal actions they took to illegally change the voting systems and procedures, and how once Republicans tried to sue for damages, well, there was already a new law. Your damages don't take effect under this new law. And so court cases were thrown out. We never got to actually investigate the election law changes. We talked about January 6th and how it was a farce of what the media has told you. Depending on what side you were on, you either let in, pushed in, or you fought your way in. We talked about the Biden election and how he's not my president. He's a stupid dictator who's running some kind of a regime. We talked about his botched withdrawal from Afghanistan that he tried to lay at the hands of Trump, even though it's 100% unequivocally his fault. We talked about how LGB went to LGBT, went to LGBTQ, which expanded into trans and drag, and how even to include more topics of the culture war, mansplaining and toxic masculinity became hot buzzwords. Well, then I would argue if there's toxic masculinity, then there must be toxic femininity. We talked about that. We talked about dating and relationships and how men and women both need to wake up to how we're treating each other and treating ourselves, and the effect that that has on relationships and marriages. So we talked about quite a lot. It's been a few hours, and to anyone that's been here through it, I appreciate you checking this video out. I'm doing this video in this fashion because if I were to make episodes on each of these topics, it would take, I could talk about each of these topics for hours each. Let's just say like 4 hours per topic. Let's say I got 32 topics, right? Christ. Can you think of all the hours that would take just to cover those topics one by one by one by one by one? And perhaps that's what's needed. And I can do that later. But I also thought that as a society, we need to be reminded from time to time everything that has taken place in the last just 3 years. We're not even through Biden's presidency. And this America is so completely unrecognizable from what she was. Because every single day, something so drastic changes that you said, I never could have seen this changing. I never thought this would be different. I always thought this would be the same. You can never imagine all the changes that have been brought to our country. Excuse me. And I can't keep up on them. I've still got another probably 14 topics to add to this list just from the last 2 weeks. So I wanted to try a different style of video where we just highlight essentially. We highlight the topics, we highlight some of the stories, and we highlight how they're all related to each other, how all these subcategories have some kind of relation to each other. So let me know what you think of it. Yes, it's long winded. It may be kind of hard to sit through at times. I get that. Um, Part of the challenge you take when trying out new content on new social media. Um, Speaking of social media, I'm going to be trying to get off YouTube here. Hopefully, going to Rumble. Rumble's a little stupid because you have to have 5 subscribers before you can live stream. But for someone that, like, more or less, like, I've got 39 YouTube subscribers, right? No one's gone to Rumble yet. I have 3 subscribers on Rumble. Rumble doesn't promote videos through a news feed the way that YouTube does. So for people to find my content, they either have to know me, be subscribed to me, or magically type in my title into Rumble. So I can't live stream on Rumble, so that's kind of ineffective for this type of like podcast, more or less. And again, there's too many videos that would take me too long to make, to where by the time I release the video topic, the content would be irrelevant as to what currently is happening in society. Whereas I figured if I release all this at once, highlight some of these topics that I know you remember at least some of them. Hopefully some of these are new to you. Hopefully I've exposed even more on some topics that you already did know about. All I can do is remind you there's a million things that have destroyed America. They're all thanks to Joe Biden and this left-wing agenda and transgenderism and the COVID response and this stupid socialist, communist, Marxist agenda. My advice would be, we have destroyed the human race, and quite possibly, not quite possibly, that sounds a little outlandish, perhaps we have gone so far that we have instigated the end times. Perhaps we have become so corrupt and sinful and diseased that we have pushed the end times upon ourselves. Now, of course, most people think that means, oh, great, there's hellfire coming and Jesus is coming in a cloud tomorrow. No, the end times could take a long fucking time to come to pass. It's going to be a lot of death. A third of the earth is going to be destroyed. And then, like, what is it? I forget the exact, but no, we're not just going to wake up tomorrow and it's the end of the world and it's judgment day. We're going to be in hell for a long time during the course of the judgment. And I have to ask, when I look at some of these articles, when it just never ends, when I lose hope, I have to ask myself, are we in the end times? Is there anything left that we can do to save ourselves? Are we so far gone as Sodom and Gomorrah were that God and his servant couldn't find one worthy soul in those towns? God said, should you find even one good soul in these 2 towns, I shall spare them and all that are in them. And God's servant came back and said, Lord, I could not find even one good person in those cities. And Sodom and Gomorrah were razed to the ground. How can you not argue, or how can you argue that we may very well be headed towards that? I mean, have you looked at any of the the book of Revelations and some of the signs of when the end times are coming? What is it? Is it the Euphrates River, the Thames? I think it's the Euphrates River. And shit, let me look this up. Bear with me. Let's look this up together. That way I'm not pushing conspiracy theories. Dear God, YouTube. Give me just a minute. Okay, so it's the Euphrates. Like in the book of Revelations, it says, Then the sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up, so that the way of the kings from the east might be prepared. If I remember my history correct, the kings of the east are supposed to be like the four horsemen, the start of the plagues, essentially. Well, how many of you know that the Euphrates has been drying up for like a decade now? And it's gotten so biblically low that Bible scholars, Islamic scholars, Jewish scholars, everyone is saying, wow, this may be the fruition of this prophecy in the book of Revelation. Perhaps the Euphrates is drying up to release the four horsemen from under its waters. And again, it's a bit fantastical, right? That you've had four horsemen trapped under a river for thousands of years, and that when the river dries up, they're going to be released to bring about the end times. Sure, we may have the interpretation a little loose, right? But the effect is the same. Have we brought about our own demise? Is there one good person left? I ask you that question because in my next video that we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about the genocide happening in China since 2014. But I've had to seriously ask myself, because I've made numerous YouTube videos about this. I've called out Congress demanding that we go to war with China over their human rights abuses. No one's batted a fucking eye. No one gives a shit about the genocide happening in China. I do. And it's been happening since 2014. Now, from 2018 to 2021, I heard about it in the news. And then in 2022, there was a couple of like congressmen, I think a couple of Democrats that put a bill forth calling out the abuses of the Chinese Communist Party against the Uyghur Muslims. But since then, I haven't heard a fucking thing from anybody. So I had to seriously ask myself, are there really no Uyghur Muslims left? Like, have we betrayed humanity for so long? Have we ignored the cries of the beaten, the broken, and the damned for so long that there's no more of them left? Have we sat here complaining about trans rights and this fucking trans genocide that you bastards think you were in? Actual people are having a genocide committed against them. Actual hundreds of thousands of people are being murdered because of who they are. You trans folks aren't being murdered for who you are. You fucking narcissists. You're still here. People are still talking about you. People are still fighting for your rights. Where the fuck are we for the Uyghur Muslims, the Kazakh Muslims, all of those Muslims of the surrounding regions of the Xinjiang Mountains of China? Where the fuck are we to care about them? My question is, where are they? No one's talking about it anymore. Have they all been murdered, raped, defiled, and put 6 feet under? And we're too busy worrying about boycotting Bud Light and Dylan Mulvaney, talking about trans this, trans that, and fuck you. Like, to some degree, fuck every single American and myself. What is wrong with us? We'd let a population go extinct. I don't know for sure if they're extinct. I'll do some more research and I'll get back to you on that. But imagine, can you imagine, with as indignant and self-righteous as we are towards human rights and this and that kind of fucking bullshit, who are we? What are we actually doing here if all these people have died? I have sincerely lost my faith in humanity. I don't know that there is the capacity for good anymore. I believe that God works through all of us, and that if we maintain hope in him and hope in society and hope in each other, that things will get better. For with God, all things are possible. But holy shit, what are we doing, people? Get your head out of your ass. Stop being a narcissistic fuck and only caring about yourself. Quit pretending to care for other people's rights. And then when the moment actually comes, abandon them. I'm disgusted to call myself an American. You should be too. What do we have to be proud of right now? What have we done right in the last 40 goddamn years? I don't have an answer for you. I'm hoping you have one. What fucking good have we done this society, the world, in the last 40 years? My advice, fix yourselves. Get your head out of your ass. Straighten up your life. Straighten up your bedroom. Straighten up your backyard. Straighten up your kitchen. Get your house in order. Get your family in order. Then you can worry about your neighbors. Then you can worry about your community. Then you can worry about your world. But until then, work on yourself and leave others out of it. You want to leave the world a better place? Treat people better than how you want to be treated. You've got road rage? Fuck off. Go take a few deep breaths. Pull over and deal with your emotions by yourself like an adult. Have individual responsibility and individual accountability. If something's fucked up in your life, take control of it. Fix it. Fix your life before you dare to tell someone else to fix theirs. I've got some, well, I'll just save that all for the next episode. Next weekend, my friends, we'll do the same thing. We'll wrap up these other bullet point topics that I have to talk about. And it's going to be a lot more heated. There's going to be a lot more deep questions. There's going to be a lot of anti-government questions. There's going to be a lot of questions about what do we do and where do we go. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. I appreciate you all coming back, checking out these videos of mine. As again, I think this message needs to be shared. So please help me to spread the message. Share this video on your Facebook, your Instagram, your YouTube, your Snapchat, anywhere you can. Please share this message. People need to wake up, and you need to wake up. The time for us to sit back and be quiet is over. It's time for us to stand up and yell and fight back and make them pay for what they put us through. Consequences need to be learned. Justice needs to be metered out, and consequences need to be paid. That's where I'll leave today's episode. I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for coming back, and I'll see you soon.